done. You're under arrest. We'll go. We're done.
Welcome back. I'm Rob Levine, a lawyer with a unique background as a retired police officer and medic. Today, we're diving into a contentious scenario. A nurse getting arrested while on duty for refusing a blood draw. Did the cop overstep? Was the arrest justified? Let's dissect the situation in a video from the Orenbus YouTube channel and uncover the legal nuances at play. So not sure who she's calling. She's saying they're threatening her with arrest if she doesn't allow the police officer to do a blood draw. Not sure who's videotaping her either, because clearly it's not going to be a cop's body cam.
She handed the phone back to me.
So heading back into the emergency room, let's see what happens. So obviously blood draw. Typically for a DWI situation, you can, as a police officer, ask someone to take a breathalyzer or under certain circumstances, a blood draw.
So I'm going to arrest her.
Oh, that's the cop that must be recording her. So it was the cop that followed her outside.
Start sending them.
He's going to arrest the nurse for refusing the blood draw. So quick commentary, blood draw, breathalyzer. KIV, knowing, intelligent, and voluntary. So in order for you to give consent, you have to understand what's happening and consent to either do the breathalyzer, which you have the right to refuse, or refuse the blood draw. The only way they're going to be able to take your blood without you giving consent would literally be to get a search warrant for your blood signed by a judge. 99% chance that's not happening here, or we'd be in a very different scenario. Although I've seen nurses and doctors refuse to abide by a warrant signed by a judge. So when somebody swallows drugs, maybe you get the judge to sign a warrant to pump their stomach to get the drugs out. If the doctor thinks it's not safe and he says, we're just going to let it pass, he might not honor that pumping the stomach and he'll just hold them and wait till they it out. So in this case, blood draw, we'll have to wait and see what happens. In either way, she's not having a good day. Let's move this along, people.
They're trying to draw. The officer is right here, and I'm fighting for
We have exigent circumstances for a blood draw on a patient that's upstairs. She is refusing. She doesn't. Salt Lake City Police, which I'm sure you'll get to meet my lieutenant soon. And if I don't get to go get the blood, I'm taking her to jail. I'd rather not do that. I'd rather not do it either.
So you heard him say that he has exigent circumstances. Normally you want to search a house. To search a house, you need a search warrant. I'm chasing an armed suspect down the street and he goes into a house. I witness it. He enters the house. I don't know if it's his house. I don't know if there's other people in the house. I'm concerned about the safety of people because we have an armed suspect. I'm entering the house without a search warrant. That's exigent circumstances. I can't imagine any set of circumstances where exigent circumstances are going to exist to take someone's blood. So maybe we have a vehicular homicide. They suspect her of drunken driving. She hit another person and killed them. I don't think that it's going to stand up in court if he takes her blood without her consent. So the nurse is concerned, obviously, about doing her job, taking someone's blood without her patient consenting to it. That's clearly could be, the patient could argue that they've assaulted her, right? They're taking her blood without her permission. And whoever the doctor is in charge of this emergency room clearly has no balls because he should be out here handling the situation. He's the higher authority, not a nurse. Nurses don't get to make decisions. Doctors do. That's why you have levels of care, levels of responsibility. The doctor should be out talking to the police officer and he should make the decision. I'm going to allow you to take the blood or I'm not. And I'm giving the order to my nurse on what to do. If someone's getting arrested, it should be the doctor, not the nurse. Again, we're kind of just in a holding pattern to either wait for, I guess, that cop's lieutenant to show up on scene and make some decisions. Maybe a doctor comes out, gives us some direction.
At one point, he had his hands on his handcuffs, and he's telling me that he has orders to arrest me if he prohibits me from drawing the blood on the patient.
It would be nice to know the backstory, like what was that person arrested for? What is the exigent circumstances we're talking about? Maybe that unfolds later. If not, it's going to be hard to give you a legal opinion as to whether or not I think the cop is even remotely justified in saying there's exigent circumstances.
I've been threatened to be placed under arrest by this officer here. I'm trying to prohibit him from drawing blood on one of my patients who he does not have a warrant for.
Hello. If things still keep going the way they're going, I'm arresting her for interfering with a criminal investigation.
I've been told by risk management have a warrant. Okay, I'm just being told what to do by my entire hospital.
And I'm being told what to do by my boss. And I'm going to do what my boss says.
Okay, well, and I can stand here and say I want to do the same thing. There's no urgency in this. I'd rather just let it work out. I'd rather just try and figure
It
out.
was a fatal, I guess, critical condition in the burn unit. And so the implied consent law says that we can draw blood, and she's preventing it.
I'm preventing because that's what I'm told to do by.
Okay, so he said the implied consent law. So he's an idiot. Implied consent means that me, as the person who's going to give you consent, you're going to imply that I would give you consent if I was unable to verbally refuse. It sounds to me like this patient has refused to have her blood taken. Implied consent would mean that that person needs to have blood taken or an emergency procedure to save their life. So we imply that they're going to give consent to have a procedure done. Not likely that someone's going to imply to give consent to a police officer to have their blood taken. So let's assume maybe that they were involved in the vehicular homicide. They were the driver. They're unconscious. The cop wants to take her blood. Implied consent would mean we believe if she was conscious, she would give consent to have her blood taken. What person would do that? That's not implied consent.
The hospital officer, privacy HIPAA officer. There's nothing urgent. Like we need to just calm. Like there's no reason that this has gotten as elevated as it has.
I mean, the reason it's elevated is obviously the cop wants what he wants, and he's not taking no for an answer.
To agree with this officer, he said if this guy's gonna arrest me, he's not gonna stop him.
So much for chain of command and a smarter senior officer being the lieutenant telling his patrolman, I'm assuming, probably not the best idea to arrest the nurse in the hospital when we don't have a warrant to take blood and we're arguing it's implied consent.
You can do whatever you need. You're good. You got to just hang tight for a second.
Yeah, and I've got more of my guys coming up. So, nope, that's my job. And anybody who interferes with the arrest. And we don't want to do that either.
So I have to say, I've been doing this a long time. I've never seen a scenario where a police officer threatens to arrest hospital staff for not taking blood. The example I gave earlier actually happened to me. I pulled over a car. The person swallowed bags of crack cocaine. I started to choke them out to prevent them from swallowing the cocaine. My canine dog exited the vehicle, came up. We were wrestling together. My dog bit the suspect while he was attacking me. I'm trying to prevent him from swallowing it. He was able to swallow. We took him to the hospital. We got a judge to sign a warrant, and they refused to pump his stomach. They said, no, it's too invasive. We're just going to wait to see what happens when he passes it, and we can go through his poop to get the crack bags out. And we didn't arrest anybody. You have to have a good relationship, obviously, with the people at the hospital where you work.
Which does apply. Okay, she's going to jail.
Why?
Interfering with the criminal investigation. Per my watch commander, and I'm not going to argue with him. So we've got two leaderships that can butt heads together later, but I either go away with blood and vials or body in tow. And that's my only choice. I'm going to follow my boss's instructions. That is my instruction.
I would like someone to stay with me.
This is not the way I wanted this to
No,
go tonight.
it's not the way anybody wants anything to do.
No.
We're just learning a lot. Like you said, we've got bosses and stuff that are button heads.
Yep.
We're just trying to do the best what's for everyone, right?
He's not here to protect me, but
No one's gonna hurt no one in here.
I just do not feel safe right now.
Let them know we're in the ER. Thank you. Right.
Interesting, though, that you have all this hospital administration that's telling her not to take the blood, but nobody's coming down to the emergency room to talk to his boss. And his boss isn't coming to the scene to talk to her boss, right? Because most likely they realize the position that they've gotten themselves into is a bad position. And instead of being smart and just backing out of it and saying, we're going to find another resolution and resolve this a different day, they're just hiding in their offices, both administration for the hospital and administration for the police department.
Hello. This young lady right here, right now, is not free to go about her business. Per watch command, if she does not allow me to go get a blood draw from a guy up in the burn unit, she's going to jail.
Okay.
Per watch command.
And I'm just trying to do what I've been told to do by the hospital.
They don't want to abide by the implied consent law or exigent circumstances. They want it to be a search warrant, and it's on a fatal crash. The guy's unconscious.
And clearly, with the amount of time that this is taking in a city where you have on-duty judges 24/7, if this is an after-hour situation, you should have been able to go to the judge and get a warrant signed. If it truly is a homicide, a vehicular death, and it's exigent circumstances.
We can both say that, sir. I'm just a nurse trying to protect the patients and do what my hospital has obligated me to do.
Believe it or not, I'm trying to protect him too. I'm not trying to get him
I
on
didn't
criminal
use
charges.
word. I didn't say you were.
Search warrant. They don't have PC. I talked to Logan. We've already discussed that with him. If she interferes in any way in me getting the blood draw, she is to be arrested.
He thinks through the intimidation factor of that he's going to arrest her. He's never seen a gun this before, and they usually consent. I would say there is no way he's getting blood through what he's calling implied consent. And the other officer is smart enough to say, why aren't we just getting a warrant?
By the way, can I get a consent to release form for somebody to send in to get medical records?
You get to call medical records.
That's where
So
we're going.
he's asking the hospital
And right now,
staff
that's where it's going.
for a consent to release medical records form. Clearly, he's not getting that form in the emergency room. This cop's just a dope.
Is this patient under arrest?
Nope.
Do you have an electronic warrant?
No.
Whether they're under arrest or not under arrest doesn't change the outcome. Just because you're under arrest doesn't give you superpowers to take somebody's blood. You still need to have a warrant if they're not going to give you consent. I haven't been able to figure out why he thinks implied consent applies here. I know his exigent circumstances, what he thinks is obviously as we live and breathe, if he's looking for alcohol in blood content goes down as we process it through our body. So he wants to get it while it's high if he's looking for a blood alcohol content level. But the time to get a warrant does not take that long in a city. There is definitely an on-duty judge who's going to sign a warrant for them if they have enough probable cause to get a warrant. And assuming I'm right that they don't really have grounds for implied consent, the exigent circumstances aren't going to matter. They didn't get a warrant. Even if she gave him consent to take the blood and he took it, when it gets to court, the defense counsel clearly is going to argue there's no way that this can be admitted because you didn't have a warrant. This is a waste of time. And arresting her is ridiculous if that's what happens.
So I printed this off. This is what I was told to print off. And hold on. So I have this. It says obtaining blood samples for police enforcement from patients suspected to be under the influence. This is something that you guys agreed to with this hospital. The three things that allow us to do that are if you have an electronic warrant, patient consent, or patient under arrest. And neither of those things, the patient can't consent. He told me repeatedly that he doesn't have a warrant, and the patient is not under arrest. So I'm just trying to do what I'm supposed to do. That's all.
So I take it without those in place, I'm not going to get blood. Am I fair to surmise that?
So she printed a document that she says is an agreement between the hospital and the city police department that says in order to get blood, you need one of three things. You need an electronic search warrant, you need the person to be under arrest, or you need consent by the person. Obviously, he said he doesn't have a warrant. The person is not consenting or incapable of consenting, which is, I'm assuming, why he's arguing implied consent, which is a misuse of the law, and they're not under arrest. I'm personally not sure why placing the person under arrest would change the right of the police officer to invasively take someone's blood without the first one or two, a warrant or consent. Not that it's relevant here because they're not under arrest.
I'm just representing.
Why are you blaming the messenger, sir?
She's the one that has told me no.
Yeah, but sir, you're making a huge mistake right now because you're threatening a nurse.
Okay. No, we're done. We're done. You're under arrest. We're going. We're done.
We're done. I said we're done.
I said we're done. I said we're done.
So clearly, this could have been done so much better and handled very differently, explaining to her what has to happen, that it's going to happen whether she resists or not, telling her to go calmly, not drag her out the door.
This is my department, and this is completely unnecessary. Completely unnecessary.
She's under arrest.
That's fine, but it doesn't have to be like
her
this.
job? Okay, I'm doing my job. She does hers. I'm leaving now with her. Anybody who wants to prevent that, that's your option. He will be taking them. So take your hand off her, please.
I have hospital administration coming to talk to you.
Why are you so... Please, sir, you're hurting me.
Then walk.
No, I have no reason to walk. You're hurting me in ways I can't believe it.
Frankly, I'm not sure I can believe it either, but it's happening. Be interesting to see how this plays out in the court system because clearly there's going to be a case for her getting arrested. So that's horrible tactics. You don't ever put a suspect that you're arresting in the front seat next to you. I don't care whether or not it's a good arrest or a bad arrest. They don't go in the front seat. So he clearly realizes this probably is not the best decision I'm making. So I'm going to minimize that effect by putting her in the front seat of my
about ready
car.
to leave.
Not the brightest.
Headed for Watch Command. Yeah, I've got her in my car right now. H 63.
I can't tell if there's a divider between the front and rear of that vehicle, and he had crap in the back seat. So maybe this is a non-transport vehicle, which if that's the case, he should have given her to the other officer and had him transport.
What is happening? I don't understand.
Hi, sir. Would you like to speak to this young lady?
I need to talk to you first, and then I'll talk to her.
She's called people. They say no, she will not take me up there, so they're refusing.
So she absolutely will not. Okay, let me chat with her for a minute.
So I'm assuming the 4 stars above his name tag make him the chief of the police department. I'm not sure what the 4 stars there are. I don't see any other insignia on him as to rank. Normally it's up on the shoulders.
You're telling me what your policy is, and I appreciate that you have a policy.
It's not my policy.
No, I know, but I understand that. You're telling me what a policy is. The word policy.
So I don't know if he's trying to reason with her to get her to agree to take blood or what he's doing, but just more of a waste of time here.
I'm also obligated to my patient and to protect them.
Okay, the person that you're trying to protect is the victim in a fatal crash.
Okay, so we heard him say that the person that they're trying to take the blood from is a victim in a fatal crash. So they're probably trying to establish that the victim was not intoxicated and was not part of the fault of the accident, and they want to establish a baseline of no alcohol or no drugs.
Legal defense.
No, I'm not trying to do anything. I'm being told what to do and what I've been told.
And what I'm trying to tell you is, we wanted blood from this guy. Now, I have talked to people, and there's probably a much better solution that we could have come to, okay? But all we had to do was go up and get the blood. And my point is, if we're breaking the law, if we're doing wrong, there are civil remedies, okay?
I'm not sure why he's wasting his time talking to her. Clearly, she's not the person that has authority to change hospital policy. So if he is the chief, clearly he should be talking to administration and not a nurse who clearly doesn't get to make decisions. So it is interesting, though, the concept that they want to use implied consent, right? So they're saying it's the victim. We now know it was the victim of a crime. So the question is, would the victim, so I'm assuming this victim is unconscious, which is why they can't consent, although we don't really know what's going on. They haven't really said whether she was conscious or unconscious. So if she's unconscious and incapable of consenting, would they be able to say that if she was conscious, she would give implied consent? Generally, in a hospital setting, implied consent is for the purpose of emergency procedures to sustain life, not to take blood for a criminal investigation, whether you're the victim or the defendant. So it's definitely a very gray area, muddy waters for sure. But it's clearly not the position of the nurse to make the decision. I'm not sure why they continue to have the conversations with her.
My point is that it doesn't matter what you say, I'm not letting you go up there.
No, I did not say that. I specifically said I've been told that you have to have a warrant signed by a judge. He has to be under arrest.
No.
And I just wanted to clarify it with both my house supervisor here and the people that were telling me that information.
Do you know if this person a resident of you?
I have no idea. I don't even know
It's
who he
another
is.
problem. Why are you involved in this?
Because
You don't
I'm-
have anything to do with it.
Because I'm the charge nurse in the unit that he was admitted. And my job is to help understand what we're supposed to do
But
and how.
you're not trying to understand. You're trying to sell us something. That's all you're doing. Because I'm trying to explain something.
This cop is no brighter than the cop in the first place. He literally thinks he's going to convince a nurse to take blood and go against the hospital administration's decision and policy. Talk to the administration.
He's going to tell me what your policy is. I understand what your policy is. I'm trying to tell you what I need legally. And your policy right now is contravening what I need legally. Which I may not need it. If you have blood that I can get Logan to come and get a warrant and test for later. Okay? But this is all stuff that we should have a conversation with before I'm told no. Okay? There's a very bad habit up here of your policy interfering with my law. Okay?
So it's his law now. Pretty sure cops don't make the law.
And you guys are trying to prevent liability coming on the hospital. And I appreciate that, but those sometimes don't meet, and they don't match up. I need to find out if this guy has a Utah driver's license.
So maybe that is a bar on
I
his
have his
collar.
name.
I can't really see what it
Here.
is. So thanks for joining me. Super long video. A lot of confusion in the beginning because nobody really gave us the backstory. We worked our way through it finally to the end, recognizing that I guess the person that they want blood from is the victim. Unfortunately, we'll never know what happened as the story ended. Thanks for joining. Remember to like and follow. See you next time.